Hi, welcome to Now TV Canada. Look, I have bedhead. I've been hanging out in my room and doing lots of research through videos. So, yesterday there was an accident. I never knew these people. Obviously, I'm from Canada, but I do, do my homework in this industry, keep up on people and stuff, and just thought I'd make a little video in honor of their careers. Bobby Orrison and Gary McLarty were two world-renowned Hall of Famers in the stunt industry. Like, the amount of work they did is phenomenal. One was 86, retired, and the other would now be 72, somewhere in there. Yesterday is when it happened. Apparently it wasn't anything of their doing. It was just bad choice by other people that caused whatever happened. So I think I've decided that in memory of their lifespans, and what goes with all stunt workers when they get into the industry is the risk of broken bones and having to be brave enough to get well and keep going, not fear what's to come, and that includes ultimately the risk of losing your life, death. But rather than looking at this as a passing because of their age and all the years of success, I think the idea that I had in mind was maybe finding a way to make a little documentary or a little film in honor of the inception of stunt work to their story to yesterday. So I'm going to work hard to try and find videos and writing information and collect that stuff and see if I can find the time to find a way to put it all together rather quickly since I have time on my hands to do something like that. In the video that I just watched of Gary McLarty, he was talking about having an accident on motorcycles. Now, I'm great for climbing up things. I can jump from airplanes, and I know for stunt work I'm lots of things, but there's one thing I fear. I can't stand the sound of or look of, and you won't ever get me on one. Well, I shouldn't say never, because there is a possibility that one person might convince me that I could feel safe enough on one with him if he was the one taking me out on one, but that would probably be the only one time I'd go. But I hate motorcycles. Fear them with a passion. The only time I sit on one is when it's in park and the kickstand is in place. But he had a bad accident, which comes with the career, of course, where he almost lost an arm and broke his two femurs in 3 places. And I had just finished posting on Jonathan Schneider's studio page about my thereabouts of 12 broken bones, and I was laughing, was picking up on the thought of what Gary McLarty would be thinking about the difference of his 2 femurs in those 3 spots and my right lower leg when I broke tib-fib in all 4 spots above the ankle and below the knee. So then you have the ankle separated from the bottom part of the leg, then you have the leg hanging in the middle like a sack, of pieces like potato in sack or something, and then you have below the knee separated, so then the knee is also able to move, and that part's of course separated from the top part. And I was just, God, the emotion waved from my head from his thoughts in laughter about how much more uncomfortable and painful that scenario of tib-fib would be than having the femur break in 3 spots, and then you're just sitting in a wheelchair with your legs straight up pretty much for like 9 months. Whereas in my case, well, I'm sure it was similar to him, but I had to learn how to do everything all over again. My leg was literally like crooked, straight to my leg, was with the ankle angled straight out to the right because of the way the leg sat and the bones inside. From that incident, when they actually claimed in the x-ray that the bones had set back down into place in perfect alignment, so they never put pins in. I'm not sure how true that is, but straight was the leg, jets right out. I had to learn how to walk again. Literally had to force my leg to go straight. I had to learn how to ride bikes again, climb stairs. I went to chiropractor 3 times a week for a year, and I think the biggest thing that saved me from being the cripple the doctors had claimed, oh, she'll never walk straight again, she'll never walk normal again, was my mom was really fast to think of putting me in swimming, along with going to the chiropractor. Learning to climb stairs, again, learning to do all these normal things that people take for granted after, you figure it out at, 18 months, was hard. The hardest part was learning to ride a bicycle again. It was extremely painful. Years. It took years for the pain below my knee. I mean years for the pain below my knee to stop hurting when I would try to pedal my leg. Oh, it's dreadful. I don't ride bicycles at all today. Needless to say. But I did eventually stop feeling pain. It did eventually become possible to ride bicycles again. I forget which leg it was I wore cast on twice. But I broke my left one when I was 3. And I think that one I had a cast on again later in grade 7. So it's like an omen. It's like a thing about people that are born to be daredevils and take risks. I cracked my chin open, and you can still see the scar if you look up close. When I was 5 on a bicycle rack, I was doing like these flips, because I was tiny back then, believe it or not. And I thought I could squeeze doing a little round-off thingy on the bar in between the big, thick poles of the old-fashioned bike racks, because I thought I would get through there. Anyways, I misjudged and cracked my chin right into it, so it was right open. And then, of course, being young and itchy, I was picking at them, so it whipped right open again. Then I have an injury in my hand, and then when I was 18 in my bones here, and then in my foot, that was in my 30s. Oh, it still bothers me now. I can't stub my toe without freaking out because of the memory of the pain of that. Foot injuries, I tell you now, life is never the same. You can never be a dancer, or ballet dancer, or prima dancer, whatever, once you injure bones in the foot. It takes a lot of care. Basically, it's time to move to Arizona and retire in warm weather. But for all the broken bones I've survived, I made rib when I was 19. I was jumping over a fence there, a metal fence, trying not to show off, be cool. And I guess she must have jinxed me, wished I'd hurt myself in the back of the head, and henceforth I did. Straight down onto the cement of where I was, and just cracked. My ribs were just, it was painful, could barely breathe. And I didn't even go to a hospital. I went to a regular clinic for x-rays, a special clinic that you get referred to. It was, yeah. So I realized that, and of course I accomplished driving truck and getting my trucker's license, and I have been in near-death situations with, of course, not me driving. Dare I say I'd never fall asleep at the wheel driving an 18-wheeler. But men who are like, ego, I don't want to let you drive, you're just new at this, thinking I can't handle it, I'll drive it, and they haven't slept much. Dare I say, jackknife on Portage Prairie Highway where there's no trees. Across the highway going both ways, jackknife us across the whole thing in the winter. And then I'm like looking at the back of the bunk where I was, all squished like a sandwich. And like, wow, I'd be dead if I was still taking a nap in that. Because I had just been there. And I knew that if you didn't let me drive, that something would happen. So the company's clean record of driving was out the window on that. But that was just one. There was other things too, like being stopped on Hungry Hill in BC with another guy that liked to yell at me a lot. For no apparent reason other than that he's old and likes to feel important. So anyways, I've taken some time off of driving rigs because there is a focus up there in BC, in Chetwynd. The highway through from Hudson Hope to the beginning of Fort St. John, BC, they're looking at closing it down because they want to blow it up and put in another dam, and there's already a dam up there, and take away farmland and places for animals and put in another water dam, which we don't need for hydro because they sell it to the States and other places, of course, so we can make our billions of dollars. People wonder why Canada is a rich country when there's only 35 million of us. That's because we have a lot of clean water, we have lots of forests, we have lots of land, so we use that, which is not good for what it's doing to our environment now. And our comforts. So I want to make a racetrack out of that. But I'll get into that another day. I just wanted to give my 2 cents now while it was fresh in my mind about what I still think there's time for me to do. And that's an omen, right? That I'm just at that cusp in my life of maturity to succeed. Maybe I'll be in a Fast and Furious movie and a Lethal Weapon too. Alright, peace out. Superwoman Now TV Canada.